What's up guys, Sagi here, and welcome to the 2019 Tech Gear Talk Black Friday and Holiday Season Camera Shopping Guide. Today I'm going to talk about some of the cameras that I recommend that you check out. I'm going to cover some of my favorite cameras in terms of value, so hopefully I can help you choose whether you're looking for a camera for yourself or as a gift. I'll also link to all of the cameras that I talk about in the description, and those links will always be updated with the lowest prices and best deals that I can find. You'll also find links to more detailed reviews for each of the camera that I've already published reviews for. I'm going to start out at the lower end as far as price and work my way up, and then get to a few fantastic compact cameras at the end. I'm going to start with one of my favorite cameras and one that I think might be the best value if you're looking for an entry-level DSLR that will do a great job for both photography and video on a budget. And I'm talking about the Canon SL2 or 200D, depending on where you live. The SL2 is a small and light DSLR. It can accept all of Canon's top-of-the-line EF mount lenses, as well as the more affordable line of EF-S lenses. It has a 24 megapixel APS-C sensor, which works well for both photography and video. You can shoot images at up to 6,000 by 4,000 pixels and video at 1080p at 24, 30, and 60 frames per second, which is going to be great for most users. When using the LCD screen for photos and video, you're getting Canon's excellent and super reliable dual pixel autofocus system, and when using the viewfinder, you get 9 autofocus points. This camera has a fully articulating touchscreen, which makes it very simple to use, and the screen can be turned to face the front for when you do things like shoot videos for YouTube. Because a newer model, the SL3, was released earlier this year, the SL2 has come down in price, and you can pick one up for under $500. Check the descriptions to links to all the cameras I talk about, as well as some popular bundles that will include additional savings. If you're looking for a very similar camera with additional focus points for photography when using the viewfinder, but which I wouldn't normally recommend for video, check out the Nikon D5600. It's an excellent option for photography at around the $500 range, but I definitely recommend one of the Canon options at this price point if you plan to also or primarily use the camera for video. The next camera I want to talk about is another one of my favorites, and that's the Canon M50. This is an entry-level mirrorless camera and is actually the camera that we bought for a 13-year-old who's interested in photography. It's small, it's portable, it can shoot 4K video, and just like the SL2, it has a fully articulating, full touchscreen and is super easy to use. It uses Canon's EF-M mount, so the lenses are a lot smaller, which again contributes to portability and makes this a great everyday carry and travel camera. The M50 sells for under $600, and there are currently some incredible bundles and creator kits available. The next camera I want to talk about is the Canon SL3, which is also called the 250D or the 200D Mark II, depending on where you live. This camera combines some of the features of the SL2 and M50. It's a small and light DSLR, has a 24 megapixel APS-C sensor, can shoot great 1080p video and 4K at 24 frames per second. Like the SL2, it can accept all of Canon's EF and EF-S mount lenses, so you have a ton of options. An advantage this camera has over the SL2 and the M50 is that it has a clean HDMI out, which makes it the perfect camera for someone who's going to do live streaming. This means that the camera can send out a clean signal to the computer while still using Canon's amazing dual pixel autofocus, and the stream is going to look nice and crisp. This camera sells for around $550, and I'll link to a few of the kits for this camera as well. If you're looking for another camera at this price point that you plan on using primarily for photography, check out the Nikon D7500. The next camera I want to talk about is from one of the most underrated brands in photography and video, Fuji. And I'm talking about the new X-T30. This is a small and very powerful mirrorless camera with a fantastic 26 megapixel APS-C sensor, an excellent hybrid autofocus system, and a tilt touchscreen. It takes incredible photos and impressive video at up to 4K 30. You can also shoot slow motion and use an external microphone for better audio. The Fuji X-T30 also has eye autofocus, which makes it a great option for portraits. This is one of my favorite cameras of the year. It normally sells for $900, which already makes it one of the best values on the market in my opinion, but it's currently $100 off, which is an absolute steal. If you're looking for something a little more compact and at a lower price point, check out the new XA7 from Fuji. Again, very impressive performance in a compact and portable body. I'll put links in the description to both options and some popular XT30 kits. Moving on, the next mirrorless camera I want to highlight is the new Canon M6 Mark II. This is currently one of my favorite cameras from Canon. It's small, portable, and extremely capable. We have an all-new 32 megapixel APS-C sensor, the famous Canon dual pixel autofocus, and a 3-inch flip touchscreen. It can shoot 4K at up to 30 frames per second with no additional crop, do in-body time-lapse video, and has an external microphone input. I actually just took this camera to Mexico with me, and I think it's going to replace my M50. The image and video quality were superb, and the user experience and ease of use were exactly what I expect from a Canon camera. It's a great value at around $850, and I'll make sure that I link to any deals that I find in the description. Next, I want to talk about another very capable mirrorless camera, the Sony A6400. We're getting a 24 megapixel APS-C sensor, a powerful hybrid autofocus system, a 3-inch flip touchscreen, and a built-in viewfinder. This camera has arguably the fastest autofocus system on the market, which is very impressive at this price point. Images are crisp and clean, and it can shoot video at up to 4K 30 frames per second. For slow motion, the A6400 can shoot at up to 120 frames per second, which gives great results, and it's very good in low light for the price. The A6400 also has eye autofocus, so again, when you're using it for portraits, you don't have to worry about the focus point. The camera will just detect the eye and automatically focus on it. This is a great all-around camera that can pretty much do it all. It currently sells for around $900, and again, check the description for any additional discounts. If you're looking for a similar feature set from Nikon, check out the new Z50, which is very capable and a little less expensive. Okay, until now we only talked about APS-C sensor cameras. So I'm going to pivot for a minute and talk about a full frame sensor option from Canon, the RP. I don't want to get into the advantages of full frame sensor cameras over APS-C in this video, so check out some of the detailed reviews for more information. The RP is Canon's entry-level full frame sensor camera, and with a current firmware upgrade and a significant price drop, it's a fantastic option for someone who wants to go full frame on a budget. The RP has a 26.2 megapixel full frame sensor, can shoot 4K and full HD video, employs Canon's dual pixel autofocus system, and has a fully articulating touchscreen. It uses Canon's new RF mount and usually comes with an adapter which lets you use Canon's EF and EFS mount lenses for more options. We've got in-body time-lapse in both Full HD and 4K, and I was really happy with the color processing and overall image quality that I got from this camera. The RP was originally priced at $1,300, but you can now get it for under $1,000. So if you're looking for a full-frame Canon camera on a budget, definitely consider getting one of these. Jumping back into APS-C sensors, I have to talk about one of the newest DSLRs from Canon, the 90D. This camera is an absolute beast, and I super enjoyed using it. We've got the same new powerful 32 megapixel APS-C sensor that we saw in the M6 Mark II, dual pixel autofocus, a 3-inch fully articulating touchscreen, and video at up to 4K 30 frames per second. The image quality was absolutely fantastic, and the video footage was clean and crisp. The larger body comes with weather sealing for additional protection, and we also get in-body 4K time-lapse, an external mic input, and a headphone jack for monitoring audio. So if you're going to pick a DSLR, this is definitely one of my favorites. The 90D was released for right under $1,200, and it's currently available for about $1,150. Moving on to possibly my favorite mirrorless APS-C sensor camera, we have the Fuji X-T3. If you're looking for the next level up from the X-T30 I mentioned, this is what you want. As you would expect, the X-T3 has built-in eye autofocus, which makes it a fantastic option for portraits. We have the same extremely powerful 26 megapixel sensor, a 3-inch, 3-way tilting LCD screen, and a great electronic viewfinder. But we can now shoot video at up to 4K 60, which no other camera in this guide can do. And Fuji has an amazing video picture profile called Eterna for a more cinematic look. The X-T3 has extremely fast burst shooting, letting us take 30 individual pictures in 1 second. And the overall image quality for video and stills is unbelievable for the price. The X-T3 was released for right under $1,500, but it's currently available for under $1,300, which might make it the best value with this feature set. And I don't feel like I can overstate how impressed I am with this camera. Going back to Sony, I have to bring up one of the best bridge cameras I've ever used, the RX10 Mark IV. This is a very unique camera with a built-in lens which gives you a crazy focal length range of 24 to 600 millimeters. That's giving you 25 times zoom with image stabilization in the lens. The 1-inch sensor and the processor allow you to shoot at up to 24 photos per second, which makes it easy to get exactly the right shot. As a travel camera, it's difficult to beat this camera in terms of range. It's on the bigger side, but you won't need to bring any additional lenses with you. And it currently sells for under $1,600, so make sure you check it out. Next, let's take a look at another mirrorless option from Sony, the A7 III. This was the camera that made me bring Sony into my kit, which later led to also adding the A6400. We've got a 24 megapixel full frame sensor, a weather sealed body, very good autofocus, and a 3-inch tilt screen. One of the features that we see in this camera that isn't in any other camera I mentioned is IBIS, or in-body image stabilization. This means that the A7 III is able to help stabilize images and video by moving the sensor to compensate for camera shake. We have 4K at up to 30 frames per second and Full HD at up to 120 frames per second, which is great for slow motion. Image quality for stills and video has been outstanding, and I've been extremely impressed with the overall performance. The A7 III also has great and reliable eye autofocus, and it's great when you're shooting portraits and you don't have to worry about where the focus point is. The Sony A7 III was released for $2,000, but is currently available for around $1,800, so check the description for any additional discounts. If you're looking for the next level up from the Canon RP, what you need is the ESR. This 30 megapixel full frame mirrorless camera uses Canon's latest RF lens mount and the new Digic 8 processor. We've got the awesome Canon dual pixel autofocus system, a 3.15-inch fully articulating full touchscreen, and up to 4K 30 frames per second video. The image quality is outstanding, and Canon's color processing for JPEG is one of my favorites. The ESR performed well for me in low light and was an absolute pleasure to work with in terms of overall user experience. So if you're looking for the top of the line full frame mirrorless camera from Canon, this is it. The ESR was released for $2,000 but recently had a price drop to under $1,800 and a very important firmware update, which makes it an even better value. Okay, now I want to shift into a few point and shoot options which make for fantastic all-in-one solutions. These are great because the built-in lens retracts and you can easily fit one of these into your pocket. The first camera is the Canon G7X Mark III. This is an update to the super popular G7X Mark II, which you can also consider if price is an issue. We've got a 20 megapixel 1-inch sensor, a 3-inch flip touchscreen LCD, can record internally at up to 4K 30 and 1080p at up to 120 frames per second. It has a versatile 4.2x optical zoom lens with an equivalent focal range of 24 to 100 millimeter and a maximum aperture of 1.8 to 2.8 to help it in low light situations. It can shoot photos continuously at up to 20 frames per second and has an external mic input and a clean HDMI out. The G7X Mark III sells for $750 and with a recent firmware update now makes for a great compact camera. The next camera I want to talk about is the most powerful compact camera that I've ever used, the Sony RX100 Mark VII. Mark VII means that Sony's had plenty of iterations of this model and they just keep making it better. It's definitely not cheap at right under $1,300, but I've never seen this feature set in a compact camera. We have a 20 megapixel 1-inch sensor with very impressive performance even in low light. We have a 24 to 200 millimeter focal length range in the built-in retractable lens, which is just amazing. We can shoot video at up to 4K 30 with built-in flat color profiles. We have 20 frames per second blackout-free burst shooting. The image quality has been fantastic for a 1-inch sensor, and the cleverly designed pop-up electronic viewfinder has been the best implementation I've seen in a compact camera. We have real-time eye autofocus, a mic input, and a clean HDMI out. Again, not cheap, but you can't find this feature set in any other compact camera on the market. Alright, so this almost wraps up my 2019 Black Friday and holiday season camera buying guide. I wasn't able to include every camera I liked, so if you have questions about any other make or model, put them in the comment section below and I'll try to respond to every single question I get. I put links in the description to all the cameras I talked about and will update those links as I find better deals throughout the holiday season. I really hope I was able to give you a good overview of some great camera options. If I did, please let me know by giving this video a thumbs up, tweet it, share it, and if you haven't yet, join the community by hitting the subscribe and notification buttons. For more opportunities for live interaction, make sure that you find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Tech Gear Talk. And you know what I always say, buy it nice or buy it twice. Good luck and see you soon.